Another day, another story. In order to combat better supplied American and South Vietnamese forces during the Vietnam War, communist guerrilla troops known as Viet Cong, VC, dug tens of thousands of miles of tunnels, including an extensive network running underneath the CuChi district northwest of Saigon. Soldiers used these underground routes to house troops, transport communications and supplies, lay booby traps and mount surprise attacks, after which they could disappear underground to safety. To combat these guerrilla tactics, US and South Vietnamese forces trained soldiers known as tunnel rats to navigate the tunnels in order to detect booby traps and enemy troop presence. Welcome to Tabo Eminent Channel. Now part of a Vietnam War memorial park in Ho Chi Minh City, formerly Saigon, the CuChi tunnels have become a popular tourist attraction. Digging the CuChi tunnels. Communist forces began digging a network of tunnels under the jungle terrain of South Vietnam in the late 1940s during their War of Independence from French colonial authority. Tunnels were often dug by hand, only a short distance at a time, as the United States increasingly escalated its military presence in Vietnam in support of a non-communist regime in South Vietnam beginning in the early 1960s. North Vietnamese and Viet Cong troops, as communist supporters in South Vietnam were known, gradually expanded the tunnels. At its peak during the Vietnam War, the network of tunnels in the CuChi district linked VC support bases over a distance of some 250 kilometers from the outskirts of Saigon all the way to the Cambodian border. As the United States relied heavily on aerial bombing, North Vietnamese and VC troops went underground in order to survive and continue their guerrilla tactics against the much better supplied enemy. In heavily bombed areas, people spent much of their life underground, and the CuChi tunnels grew to house entire underground villages, in effect, with living quarters, kitchens, ordnance factories, hospitals and bomb shelters. In some areas there were even large theaters and music halls to provide diversion for the troops, many of them peasants, and their supporters. War in the CuChi tunnels. In addition to providing underground shelter, the CuChi tunnels served a key role during combat operations, including as a base for communist attacks against nearby Saigon. Sea soldiers lurking in the tunnels set numerous booby traps for US and South Vietnamese infantrymen, planting tripwires that would set off grenades or overturn boxes of scorpions or venomous snakes onto the heads of enemy troops. To combat these guerrilla tactics, US forces would eventually train some soldiers to function as so-called tunnel rats. These soldiers, usually of small stature, would spend hours navigating the cramped, dark tunnels to detect booby traps and scout for enemy troops. In January 1966, some 8,000 US and Australian troops attempted to sweep the CuChi district in a large-scale program of attacks dubbed Operation Crimp. After B-52 bombers dropped a large amount of explosives onto the jungle region, the troops searched the area for enemy activity but were largely unsuccessful, as most communist forces had disappeared into the network of underground tunnels. A year later, around 30,000 American troops launched Operation Cedar Falls, attacking the communist stronghold of Binh Duong province north of Saigon near the Cambodian border, an area known as the Iron Triangle, after hearing reports of a network of enemy tunnels there. After bombing attacks and the defoliation of rice fields and surrounding jungle areas with powerful herbicides, US tanks and bulldozers moved in to sweep the tunnels, driving out several thousand residents, many of them civilian refugees. North Vietnamese and VC troops slipped back within months of the sweep, and in early 1968 they would use the tunnels as a stronghold in their assault against Saigon during the Tet Offensive. Tourism in the CuChi tunnels. In all, at least 45,000 Vietnamese men and women are said to have died defending the CuChi tunnels over the course of the Vietnam War. In the years following the fall of Saigon in 1975, the Vietnamese government preserved the CuChi tunnels and included them in a network of war memorial parks around the country. Visitors to Vietnam can now crawl through some of the safer areas of the tunnels, view command centers and booby traps, fire an AK-47 rifle on a firing range, and even eat a meal featuring typical foods that soldiers living in the tunnels would have eaten. The CuChi tunnels are an extensive underground network located in the CuChi district of Ho Chi Minh City, formerly known as Saigon, Vietnam. These tunnels played a significant role during the Vietnam War and are now a popular tourist attraction. Key features of the CuChi tunnels. History. The tunnels were initially dug by the Viet Cong, the communist guerrilla force that fought against the South Vietnamese government and the United States during the Vietnam War. Construction began in the late 1940s, but the tunnel system was expanded and improved during the 1960s. Purpose. The CuChi tunnels served as a hiding place, communication and supply routes, living quarters and storage areas for the Viet Cong. The complex network extended for over 120 miles, about 200 kilometers, and included living spaces, storage rooms, kitchens, hospitals, and even schools. Design. The tunnels were ingeniously designed with multiple levels to withstand bombings and ground attacks. They included trapdoors, ventilation systems, and booby traps to thwart enemy soldiers. Tourist attraction. Today, the CuChi tunnels are a popular tourist destination where visitors can explore sections of the tunnel system. The site has been preserved and includes a museum, exhibits and demonstrations showcasing the tunnel entrances, living quarters, and various traps used during the war. Demonstrations. Tourists can experience the cramped conditions of the tunnels firsthand, though some sections have been widened to accommodate visitors. Guides often provide insights into the history, construction, and strategic importance of the tunnels. War Remnants Museum. While the CuChi tunnels offer a hands-on experience, the War Remnants Museum in Ho Chi Minh City provides a broader perspective on the Vietnam War, featuring exhibits and artifacts related to the conflict. Visiting the CuChi tunnels provides a unique opportunity to learn about the Vietnam War, understand the challenges faced by the Viet Cong, and appreciate the resourcefulness and resilience of the people involved in the conflict. The CuChi tunnels are a testament to the resourcefulness and determination of the Viet Cong during the Vietnam War. The intricate network of tunnels played a crucial role in the guerrilla warfare tactics employed by the Vietnamese forces against the better-equipped and technologically advanced American and South Vietnamese armies. The tunnels were strategically located in the CuChi district, which was in close proximity to the southern edge of Ho Chi Minh City, Saigon. This location allowed the Viet Cong to establish a hidden base and launch surprise attacks on the enemy. The tunnels served not only as a shelter but also as a means to move undetected beneath the ground, allowing the Viet Cong to outmaneuver their adversaries. Life in the tunnels was challenging. The cramped conditions, lack of ventilation, and limited resources made survival difficult. Yet the Viet Cong managed to create a functional underground community with living quarters, storage rooms for weapons and supplies, kitchens, and even medical facilities. Thanks for watching. Request you to subscribe the channel.